Welcome to the Sober Nation FM podcast, where we're putting recovery on the map. I'm your host, Jonathan Sylvester. This show is brought to you by Sobriety Engine. Do you want to take your recovery to the next level? Do you want more support, community, and fellowship? Sobriety Engine is an incredible free online community of men and women supporting each other in their recovery. You can get a ton of great tips, resources, and guidance to help you succeed in recovery and in life. Visit sobrietyengine.com to join today. Sober Nation FM is also brought to you by Recover Health. If you're ready to get fit and start living a healthier lifestyle, all while supporting your sobriety, then you can learn more about having me as your own personal fitness and nutrition coach at rcvrhealth.com. And whether you're listening to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watching on YouTube, please share this with your friends. Follow, subscribe, and leave a review. Nation, let's hop right into today's episode. Today, I'll be speaking with Rami Evan Esh, a.k.a. Kosha Dillz. Thanks for coming on the show, Rami.
It's good to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, I'm excited too. And I definitely want to talk about your music and your latest album. But first, I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit about what was going on before you found your way into recovery and how you actually got sober. So where does your relationship with addiction actually start?
I would say I probably got in around age 12, maybe. I feel like drinking and vomiting like the first time, like that kind of part. And then it was very like sporadic, but like my first stuff, I think really started with, in wrestling and like just making myself vomit, yo-yo dieting, very extreme stuff, like just through wrestling. And I love wrestling, but like I do know like everyone who does that sport knows like just it's like an extreme sport, you know what I mean, specifically with weight. And then the drugs and alcohol, seeped in more in high school, but right when I got to college, I got arrested like on my birthday, and then I went to school and, just sort of addiction to drinking, smoking, dodging urine tests for NCAA regulations. And then, getting arrested again, and then getting, the charges, felony charges, and doing jail time. Like, so it just got progressively worse throughout college.
Yeah.
And then it really just, I got clean at 22, turning 23. So I would say the short form is being like strong, hard, 18 to 22.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. And so I want to, let's peel back the layers of the onion here, man. I want to dive in a little bit deeper. So, because I was reading a little bit about your story, but just so I'm clear, like, in that progression, so are you going right into date? Because everyone's a little bit different, right? Are you going right into like, kind of like I did, like dabbling a little at first, it's social, and then it slowly becomes an everyday thing? Or what did that progression actually look like?
Okay, so if you get like to the specifics,
sure.
Like I just remember, 15, like blackout drunk, like stealing liquor cabinet. And then like, nothing, high school, nah. But but by the time like college came, like the drinking and I was more into selling drugs. Like that was my thing, So I like bought drugs once, and then I'm like, okay, let's sell it. I love selling things in general. I was selling candy bars in school. I used to sell fireworks.
Right here, man.
I used to sell fireworks, which was like what we really liked, and people were like addicted to like fireworks, And but like I like obsessed like all the time. When it came to my like, let's say my parents had gone, I guess, to Israel or something when I was working. They were gone for like a month. And I gotta say, my sophomore year, I was still on the wrestling team. Okay. And by the time my junior year happened, like it was toast. Like I had got arrested at the end of my sophomore year and facing, I was on like bail for $50,000 for ecstasy at the time was so intense. And we were starting to just, more like the whole ecstasy scene in New Jersey, New York, was a thing. So what happened from there, I would say immediately jumped on, especially cocaine. Like at the fall, and I found that, and I feel like I did it every day for like 21 days or something, like a little bit every day.
Yeah.
And that was like a combination of that and buying and selling and buying and selling some and doing some and buying and selling. And next thing you know, I was just doing it every day. It's like, and that was sort of the beginning of the end while I was waiting on the court date for the arrest at the end of my sophomore year. And that took like a whole year. So I ended up doing time for that, but I was doing drugs all the way until I was going in, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. And when I, you know, am in a situation where I'm telling my story, sometimes, and depending on the setting, of course, you know, I might not mention the selling drugs thing, but for me, and it sounds like for you, I think it's an important thing because like, it's really a part of the story. Right. And
yeah, my stuff was completely like, anytime I was doing drugs, I was always holding it too, you know?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
that was just how I got down. I didn't, you know, I was never part of the scene. Like, let me get my money for my work. Cause I didn't have a job. So it was like, this is what I did, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Thing.
It's your career. It's your career.
Yeah, that was my career path at the time.
Yeah.
And that and delivering pizza. And like, you know,
Dude, I'm right there, man.
Dude,
It's the perfect, you're delivering things already.
yeah. I was all about the 2-for-1. When I got out of jail the first time, like I had been exposed to recovery because right when I got arrested, I guess in that wait, I had to start attending meetings and going to like sort of therapists. And, you know, I was going to places and they were like, you know, what's wrong with Rami? And I was like, you know, always dodging the blame. But when I got out, I was like, okay, now I'm just gonna drink and sell drugs. So and I was like, I'm gonna get a girlfriend. And I felt like I'm like very textbook of all the things you need to do to get out of whatever you're doing. So like, oh, maybe a relationship will solve it. Oh, maybe going back to school will solve it. Oh, and reality is nothing solved it. And the girl left and it got worse. And you know, I ended up in like a sting operation and was running from the police. And when I like threw everything, they didn't find a certain amount of drugs that was like on me, or maybe some kids had picked it up.
Okay.
And I felt like at that point, you know, I was on probation. I was on probation. And that was like, the week before that, I was like, yo, I need to either like go back to those meetings or get arrested. And I got arrested, and that's what happened.
Wow.
And so it's sort of I felt it was very like a divine intervention in my life and shit. And I was like, yo, I think this is it. And that was it. It was July 30th, 2004. I must have got arrested like the 29th, you know.
Okay.
And then that's how it was. And from there, I've been on the path. Yeah.
So, I mean, so you get locked up, and then are you given the option to do like one of these treatment type deals while you're locked up? Do you just go to meetings while you're locked up? Do you wait until you get out? Like, what is kind of the next step into recovery look like for you?
Well, I had already done time on this other offense, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm on probation. I'm obviously violating this. I mean,
yeah.
Year, you know.
Yeah. You're gonna have a little longer trip this time.
Yeah. I had some money. My father, you know, like I got some like stock stuff that he was like trying to make me legit. And he didn't know because I conned my parents and everything too. So I gave like my dad money and he like put it in a stock for me or something. And
man,
like,
that's pretty, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And obviously
got to diversify, man.
Yeah, diversify. It's just so crazy. And like, you know, I took that money, they put up like, I think the other half of it. And I went to this place called Endeavor House, which was in Keyport, New Jersey. I was in jail. I was there for a week. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, for sure going to do like 5 years in prison because the last time they were trying to do 5 years, I had 9 months. And I like ran into a school zone. I ran back. And so I was on campus. So I'm like, this is just bad all around.
Yeah.
And if other people are like ratting you out, then this wasn't like some random thing. Right. And, and I just went, I was staying in rehab for 90 days, right? And then I moved into a 3-quarter house, and everyone in the 3-quarter house was sort of like a halfway house, but it's like, you know, operational, and people go out and they get jobs, et cetera, and they come back for all the meetings. And everyone there is on parole and probation, and just our main job is to like stay in meetings and don't go to prison. You know what I'm saying? And like, don't get high. You know what I'm saying? If you don't get high, you're going to jail. You know, it's like, that's where we're at now in life. Like, that's our main goal. So this is what I was doing. This is like all I was trying to do. And, you know, by the time the court dates came, they just slapped me with more probation. There was like no reason for you to go to prison. So
wow.
A very miracle. And in my life, I was like, I knew people who would go in and out of these programs to stay out of jail.
Right. That's what I was going to ask. Like, were you really trying to do this thing, or were you just trying to stay out of jail?
I think I was trying to stay out of jail. And then at some point it just clicked also. And I'm like, this is just better. Like, you know, and I had lost the desire to kind of go back. And then I was sort of like getting clout in recovery. You know, I was going to these things every day and developing all these friends. And I'm just like, you know, because this time, like when I got out of jail the first time, I was like, I really want to like start again and just do it properly. But like, that's all I knew. Because like when you're in jail, not everyone's like, I can't wait to go to meetings, you know?
Right.
Everyone's like, how do I do what I was doing already and do it more clever, right? That's the correctional facility. And even when there were people going to meetings in jail, I never wanted to go to them. I thought it was corny. I was like, I'm not going to go. You know, I'm just going to do my time. and you know, I just, at the last time when I was in the program, like I just wanted to just like start, you know, recording music and like get a life and get a girlfriend and just move out of my parents' house. And I just had these dreams, you know, of just like achieving what I wanted to achieve in life. And I'm gonna have to say, you know, clean to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I did all kinds of jobs. I had all kinds of jobs there. And I was just like, it was crazy to me because all I had done was sell drugs. So it's like, I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? I delivered pizza and that's it. And, you know, coming out of that, there were just a lot more possibilities. I was like able to start releasing, you know, I had these like little dreams, things were just clicking along. And obviously I had to stay clean or I would have gone to jail. So, I mean, you know, if I messed up, I'm just like, I did not want to spend like my entire 20s in prison.
Yeah, man. No, for sure. So where does the music, like, had you started kind of like freestyling over beats like years before? Like, where does all the music come in?
When I was like 17, I started entering rap battles.
Okay.
With my buddy Yak, and he was this kid that just was around and went to New Rican Poets Cafe in New York. It's a really famous place. There's this battle called Braggerites. Just like imagine 8 Mile, just like that. And you could still smoke inside and everyone's smoking weed and smoking cigarettes and just that era, right?
Yeah.
And I was going on stage and felt this high from being on stage. And I was also high to get on stage.
Right.
And, you know, I had like some success and some small wins. I was beating some people. And I just realized you could like, you know, it's just a different kind of high I was experiencing. It was very similar to wrestling, and that it's like you versus another person and you need skills to like get through this match, right? And then I started recording songs and just, you know, and I had a record that I made when I was high and using, although I wasn't high when I recorded the songs, I used that to, you know, I released that record like maybe like when I was like a year clean. I just pressed it up and, you know, put it out on record. On vinyl. It's not even online. It was only on vinyl. It's kind of crazy.
Wow.
And makes me think I should put that stuff online. But like in my mind, I'm like, wow, this is I want to do this. And I guess in my first year, like when I moved to New Brunswick, New Jersey. After I got out of, I went to one place in Matawan, New Jersey and then I moved to Island to another 3-quarter house. And then I moved out and I moved in with some homies in New Brunswick that were all in recovery, and just went to meetings out there. And when I was there, I just like, you know, started entering back into the music scene. and just hitting meetings every day. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
MySpace had come out at that time.
Do what?
MySpace.
Oh, MySpace. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was like that was like, now we're in touch with the universe. Like you could talk to people all over the world. You can meet people in recovery that I still know from MySpace.
Wow.
And they're still clean. And that was just really cool. You know, cool. I was like, wow, you could upload these songs and send them. People could just come to your page and listen to you. So I, spent my time on that and just going to meetings, and that was how I kind of stayed clean probably for the first few years.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this, man. What was one of the biggest things you think you struggled with early on in sobriety?
The biggest thing that I struggled with, I would say, like, when you're getting sober, I just have a lot of vices. Like, I'm a real addict, alcoholic, like through and through. I mean, besides alcohol, there's food, sex, like all those, like addiction. Like my first sponsor made me take a break from MySpace for 90 days. I wasn't able to go on it because I had figured out how to manipulate that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I was manipulated, like just how you have people sliding into DMs on like Instagram and just, like I was figuring out, like I had new addictions, you know what I mean? I had, in the air, like romance, codependency, like all these things, and, food, just eating like trash, and that, like, it's really, is really difficult to realize like how addictive everything is for me without having drugs or alcohol. Because if it was just drugs or alcohol, then you don't have to worry about anything else. But like I'm out of that to really enter back into society and live properly and live respectfully. And I just had a lot of self-doubt. So I use these things as crutches to make myself feel better. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Which is why exactly I probably got high in the first place. So when I had the opportunity to, I would say, just like step it up a little bit more in early recovery, I would say the same problems I have now with 16 and a half years clean are the same problems that I still had back then. It's just there's more shame involved because, like, when you get clean earlier, you think like, oh, I should have done this. But when you stay clean consistently to like now with multiple years, like, you know what I'm saying, having a dozen years, over 10 years, and you still have those same things, like you're still going to have the same relationship issues you ever had with your parents, because it doesn't matter whether you're 20 or 40 or 60. If you don't deal with them, you don't deal with them. Right. And for me, I'm a big, as an artist, as a wrestler and a battle, you're like, the crowd cheers. You're like, yes, you're if you're selling, something, you're the head of the party. If you're buying somebody drinks, you're the head of the party. But like, take all that and you're not that person. Like, you're dealt with you, and you have nobody cheering for you. And to learn how to feel about yourself the way I needed everyone to make me feel, like I like, that outside recognition was difficult then, and it's still difficult now. Just now I'm so aware of it, and to really still dig in it, because I want to stay, I don't want to go back out, right? So it's like you have to do the work, and the longer you don't do work on yourself, the more shame and guilt you have, which will drive you out of the program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Long answer to a short, very
no, that was a great answer. And I want to ask you, I want to come back to that self-doubt in a minute here, because that's something that I certainly know something about. But I do want to ask, like, what role do you feel like music plays in your recovery? Like, how does that connect there? I'm kind of curious.
Music, there's different concepts of it, right? So making a song for me is difficult. When I first started, I wasn't a freestyle artist. I wasn't improv, so like, when I first started rapping, just remember, like, I think it just makes me feel super alive. If I make like 3 new songs, you have something that lasts forever. Like, this stuff is in the universe forever. It's like your imprint in society. It's extremely spiritual and powerful for me to just know that you have this catalog of stuff, this work that you've done that people will find generations from now and be able to listen to it. um, business like that you get to work for yourself and that you don't have to work for anybody else. And that people get to hear your story the way you tell it. You know, you have to properly tell your story, which is something I have another experience with, but like you have a new medium to tell your story, you know, that people could hear it and you could like change other people's lives. And I would say be of service to other people, you know, and like it's hard. I don't really think of it that much, but when someone says like, wow, man, like what you said in that song really helped me.
Yeah.
That's it, you know. And plus it helps me to make stuff. Like I have a creative idea. I want to see it come to life. And, you know, if I'm the one who has to make the song, which I have been, then, you know, that's what I do, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. One thing I was thinking about, you know, cause I read an article, I think it was in Variety, and you were talking about how you met the student Mike on Warped Tour. And so I guess this dude was sober, and like he was kind of like there were a few other people he kind of guided a little bit to get sober. But like I'm just thinking, man, like how did you then, like as a younger guy, like kind of separate yourself from, you know, I mean, we see younger guys now. I think in the article you were talking about like Lil Peep, and he had just died, and you know we see, man, it's just like, gosh, I think just, you know, with this pandemic stuff, of course, too, like I think I've heard in the past couple of weeks about probably 5 or 6 people, you know, kind of in my circle or outer circle ODing, you know. It's like, but I'm just thinking, like, how do you separate yourself from all that stuff that it's so easy to get drawn into, you know, the fast money, the sex, the drugs that are around and stuff like that. Like, how do you get into the music game and still separate yourself from that? I guess that's what I'm wondering.
It's interesting you say that. Like, you know, in hip hop specifically, like when I started, like this was more like true school hip hop, underground rap. So the blow and all the pills and stuff wasn't around like that as much.
Yeah.
And it was more like weed. But I used to tell people no smoking, no this, and I made it really known because right off the bat, I'm such like a hustler. I was like, I'm gonna talk about my recovery and I'm gonna meet people in recovery. You know what I mean? And like I'm gonna do recovery shows. And like there weren't, you know, people doing this, you know, on a large scale. And I was really proud of it. Like I was proud to be on recovery as much as I was proud to be on probation for like you know, because I felt like I needed this level of respect from the streets. And then, you know, when I would meet other people that weren't in recovery, they thought it was so awesome that I was in recovery. Wow. Didn't mean like they, you know, and I was like, well, sometimes you need an outside perspective to tell you like how awesome that is, because they had people who died or they knew people that are still, and they're like, whoa, how do you stay sober for 2 years? That's crazy. You didn't drink once for 2 years. Like you didn't do this for how long? And once I lost the desire to use, I was just like, dude, there's no way I'm traveling around the country and I get pulled over for everything, like anything. And dude, to be locked up in Iowa or Omaha, Nebraska, and just really like, you know, get a charge out there and be stuck, like my whole life would be destroyed, you know. And knowing the fact that if I make one mistake, then I'm definitely going to prison for a significant amount of time just based on my record. I'm forced to. So people, places, and things is such a huge part. It's like the first stuff I learned in recovery is what kept me clean, like the basics, you know. It's like the squat and the bench press. That's what people who are strong do. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a special exercise. It's the same one we learned in the beginning. So I give it up for that. And I still use that today because I'm in places and when I perform in the street and people want to come and party and they're doing drugs literally right in front of me. And I'm like, okay, you know, like my instinct kicks in and I'm not like, get away from me. I'm like, okay, we don't want the camera toward them. We don't want like, you know, let's separate. But it's so crazy once I see it happening, I want to sometimes be around it. You know what I mean? Just to see, you know, what or who, and I have to and I have to check myself. So I'm sort of grateful for being in the entertainment industry because I see how many people do it, and I'm like, oh man, this is sad. And I don't essentially won't get high, but I could act out in other ways that would be like not conducive to my recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Man, I am curious, like on the flip side, and not to like break anyone's anonymity or anything like that, but have you met any other people like in the game or anything like that, or just in the entertainment industry that you find out that are in recovery and you're like, oh, damn, like that's someone like, like that's pretty cool.
Well, as far as rap, like I said, my homie Kyle Raps was like the one guy that I know that I think they were like publicly sober. And then like, Eminem obviously and I got to do like a battle where I was like, it was like 2010. And I was like, my name was the first time I was in Billboard magazine was with Eminem. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm more sober. I'm sober longer than Eminem. So like, whether he likes me or not, I know he's gonna respect me right off the top from that. You know what I mean? And his partner too, Royce the 5'9".
Right. Yeah.
Who not might everyone know, but that's like the first people I listened to in rap. And as far as like actors, etc., I mean, there's so many people that are out there, and when you're in LA, they appear. These people appear. It's nice, and it's just like, it's cool. But I have enough recovery where I'm not like, hey, what's up? Can I? You just don't do that. Just like you're in the music business and you go to a dinner and you see somebody famous at it, and you just don't be like, hey, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture? Unless that's like, you're not in the business and that's what you want to do. You want to just get it,
Yeah.
So it's just like the program, honestly, it's like anonymity, you know what I'm saying? We're just, but it is a nice thing to see people, and it's like, oh wow, it's not all, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there. So
for sure, yeah.
Entertainment, and then we got to separate, and that's like a strength, like to be able to separate things and compartmentalize. It's like you go to work and you have your work relationships, and then you have your personal relationships, and they're a split. It's not everyone. You don't have to be your best friend with everyone at work.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. Well, so I think that's a good segue into talking about your latest album, which is titled Nobody Cares Except for You. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what is the theme or kind of the concept behind that album?
It's definitely a reflection of me upon myself. Like the way I started doing that album was I was going to release an album called Nobody Cares. And I made a song called Nobody Cares. And I'm like, well, nobody cares about anything, right? Everyone's just focused on their own thing, right? The recovery piece there is that like, you go and you think somebody's talking about you and you're like, just think you're so important that everything is about you.
Right.
But the idea is nobody cares. And then I thought, you know what? And I was doing like a fundraiser for it. And I'm like, no one's going to want to be, I don't know, it's just so negative,
Right,
so I
right.
think, look, nobody cares except you. And it's like, the concept is, you heard of me and I heard of this. And then we sit down for like 45-minute conversation. But because we gave people the initial time, right? This half hour, this hour, now we feel like we're a little bit more involved, you know what I mean? And we're like, well, now I kind of get where he's coming from, because we had to like enough respect to just come and take that time out of whatever we were doing to meet. And that's when I realized is I was so frustrated with my relationship with my music career, thinking I should be up here, but realizing that like I come from such a hustle background, hustle, get this, whatever to do to survive, which is such an old using pattern for me, is that in the real world, you have to care about other people if you want them to care about you. Now, as much as that may sound transactional, it's a good thing to sell yourself to. Be like, you know what, I will care about you. I mean, I hope people care about me. It's like, I will go to this rehab to stay out of prison. But the flip side is, once you're there for 90 days, your mind, you've changed anyway. So it's like, whether your intention is, per se kosher or not, like, for me, I wanted to have better relationships. I wanted to have a better relationship with my fans. I wanted better relationships in my life. So nobody cares except you. And now I feel like, well, I do feel more of it. And I feel like I'm very self-seeking as an artist. So you're always promoting, you're pushing, you're doing this, and you're falling on deaf ears. But to connect with someone just takes time. And that's really what the album for viewers.
That's awesome, man. I really like that. So, you know, I've listened to a bunch of your songs now. Okay. And man, like for me, I think for me, like I can listen to a ton of different songs and hear, you know, what I think personally are recovery undertones, right? But I mean, what are some of the songs maybe on this album, or just some of your songs in general, that you would say, or maybe there's one song in particular that fans reach out and they kind of see that as, you know, the recovery song? Is there one song in particular that you're like, oh yeah, this is my recovery song? Like this is the main one. This is about my experience.
I have songs that are specifically about that aren't on this album, actually.
Okay.
One, Beneath the Wounds, and there's a song called 15 Years Later, which tells my story about like running from the police and like literally in detail.
Okay.
Which is, you know, they're obviously great. But on this record, I would say, I mean, the songs that I've been, They Know What My Name is a big one. And that's super in regards to humility. It's like feeling like I'm never gonna make it, but they still know what my name is. I don't think I'll be famous, but when I walk the street, a couple notice me. And like a lot of my successes have been behind the scenes, or like I haven't achieved like the full super acknowledgement of love. Like I have a producer on this album, Sam Barsh. The guy who produced this album is nominated for a Grammy tonight while we're filming this. The guys who did my past albums nominated for Grammys, you know? And like, I'm always like famous adjacent is the thing. And I think it's in like, you know, the sober life, it's like, there's no superstars in this thing, right? Like anyone could get it, right? You know, like any famous act, boom, next day, kill himself. I think that's a huge song for me. I think also like on the relationship piece, like Never Ever Have I, and the song Age, which is about dating younger people. And it's just, I think those songs could really resonate. Oh, and the Real Me is like I
saw the title, and like, I just went like right to, I don't know why that one like kind of caught my eye, and it was like, okay, maybe this is the one that
actually almost more than the other ones. Real Me for sure. Okay. Real Me talks about like some of my using experiences and like armed robberies and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I kind of like that. That's why I thought maybe when I caught some of those lines that was the one you were going to mention. But I want to circle back around, man, because you mentioned the self-doubt thing. Like even before we hopped on to do this interview, you talked about it a minute ago. Like here I am, you know, talking to you. You seem like a really confident guy. You're putting yourself out there. You've been doing this for a minute. You've met all these people and all this stuff. Like, and I know I've dealt with self-doubt, and it certainly still creeps up. And I'm sure some of the people watching or listening to this can understand that too. How do you deal with that? Like, what if you were to say, like, man, this is the recovery tool that I use to really deal with that, or this is how I kind of squash that self-doubt, or at least start to kind of deal with it a little bit? Like, what do you do? I'm curious.
I just read this in a book the other day. It was a guy who wrote it. I don't know his name, unfortunately, but it's there's I guess builds your confidence in avoiding negativity. And I'll share it with you. He goes, instead of me saying like, hey, I'm proud of you, and you switch the tone to, you should be proud of yourself. And like, the one thing is, if you say, Kosha Dillz, I'm proud of you, and like, I need your approval for me to know I'm the shit. I know I'm the shit. If you say, dude, you should be proud of yourself, it's the same thing, right? Same intention,
right?
Just phrased differently, right? I don't need Rolling Stone to tell me I have a good album. I want them to tell me I have a good album, so I get respect from peers, etc., like that, and want to see it. But I know my shit's good because I made it. I know what parts could be better. I know what songs could have been a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? And other people have told me it's my greatest work yet. And those are people that care about me. So The self-doubt usually comes in, and I learned this when performing on Hollywood Boulevard, like literally. I know the guys that sell CDs, and people hate the CD guys, right? I'm sure you guys are watching the people come up with the CD. But if you have the confidence of a guy who sells CDs in an age where no one has any CDs anymore and they still love it, the guy goes, let's get the no's out the way. Because I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, no, let's just get them out the way so I can achieve my goals. And you wake up, right? What's the first thing you do? Do you scroll on Instagram? Do you, you know what I mean? And like, I really have to set the tone for my day to like build my confidence, because every day I wake up doubting myself. It's
so
like,
man, so break that down for me. Like, what exactly does that look like? Because I'm big into like a morning routine, and like I really feel like that has been like doing specific things to start my day, especially, has been not only like carried me through sobriety and help, keep me clean, but like has really, man, it's there's no corniness to it because it just is what it is. Like it's changed my life for sure.
Right.
So what does that look like to you? Like, how do you kind of get that mindset for the day and at least try to, because I know like, man, that's it right there. I've never really thought about this before, but like, if I'm trying to push anything aside at the beginning of the day, it's like fear and self-doubt. So how do you do that to like start your day off? What does that actually look like?
Like, you want to know my schedule sort of?
I mean, like, just what are some of the things you do to just start your day off? What do you feel like helps you the most that might help someone else?
I just started this. I haven't wrote every single day, and since I was in jail when I was 21, and since December, I was just going through like a really emotional breakup, not even a physical breakup, but like something where I'm like, I have to, delete people, and I have to like get these people out of my life.
Yeah.
And I just journaled every single day, and I filled up a whole notepad. It's now I'm being too lazy to buy a new one, and I'm looking for like any space. I filled up a whole thing, and I didn't even read it ever once back. And I'm looking at it, and I couldn't believe that the last time I filled up a notepad back to the fourth was when I started writing rhymes. If you start your journal entry and then read a little bit. I mean, I'm on this challenge to read and write for 75 days, which I've already been doing that. But like now reading is a big thing. I had an English degree from Rutgers University, and I literally never read a book. The first time I read a book when I was in jail, my cousin was sending me books. Wow. And I'm an English major. Like I speak for a living. Like I rap. I have TED Talks. You know what I'm saying? And I've never read a book because there's so much anxiety. It's like, how do you do it one day at a time, one page at a time, I look at a book, and I just like to look at the cover, and I'm like, all right, that was cool. So for me, writing, first thing, don't touch my phone. If I touch my phone, I'm already losing. This is but what if you wake up late, right? What if you wake up at 11? You stayed up late, right? Still don't touch the phone. And now, I take runs. I'm a big runner. Running, I did a marathon last year. And I did it in I trained, and I'm not saying anyone has to run a marathon, but like some sort of exercise where you sweat, I need to get it out of me. I don't know what's in there, but I need to get it out. And those are the basics. Today when I was going out to perform, I was like, oh, I'm going to take the laundry out. I had a great opportunity to have a huge victory with my laundry. And I don't know why, but having clothes around that are dirty make me feel like a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? Make me feel like closer to crackheadness that I deserve. So I want to have a nice drawers, you know what I mean? And I just got a new place, and I want to have nice things here because it's like my house. Now, this is not my house though, it's my palace. So once I get in that mindset,
man, that's a palace couch right there. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I just wanted to set the tone of this interview and be like, we're here.
Yeah, I like it.
You know what I mean? And I got this on the street. I got this on the street, which I found
it's very royal.
Yeah, a lot of people when they're looking at me, they're like, "Whoa,
yeah,
what's the difference?" You
I like it.
Treat yourself good, Yeah. But it is beautiful once you get a couple of days, just like recovery. It keeps going. Now I'm a writer. Now I'm writing. My dream is to write books, and it's like you can't write books if you don't write.
That is true.
Isn't that crazy?
man.
If I eat cookies in the morning, how am I going to get a six pack?
Yeah. Yeah.
Me personally, you know what I mean? And so you have to change, and it's never too late to change. Just want you guys to remember, I don't care if the next you see this thing, you're like the past 27 years of my life or 50 years, you could actually change it. And I think writing, this guy that I know calls it the brain drain. Like, what am I going to write about? I don't know. Start freestyle when you write. My name is Ronnie. I'm having a horrible day. I just drank decaffeinated coffee on the Sober podcast. Anyways, I'm going out to the store. Like, stacks up, and you'll get some other stuff in there.
Yeah, I like that, man. I mean, I like it so much. In fact, I've literally for a while now been writing in these little journals off Amazon. A brain dump is what I call it. And I don't even know what I'm writing most mornings. I just like put it down. Sometimes, like I said, like sometimes there's a little fear, some self-doubt in there, but I get it down. So I like that, man. I think that's, I think that's huge. That's been super helpful for me for sure. I wish I had started doing that.
I put music on. I like, on YouTube or Spotify, I put like peaceful meditation music on, even though like I'm a super hater of all that stuff. And it's like, it's like, you know, I'm like alpha guy. I'm like, but you put on some music that makes you feel spiritual, right? Like you go to a rock concert, you're gonna dance with people that listen to rock music. You put on spiritual music, it's gonna set the tone. It's gonna make your body feel a certain way. And then you could write about something that's really meaningful. You could do step work, you could do, you know, anything, but just a journal. No one's requiring you to do that. And that's why it's so cool, right? It's not gonna sell it, you know, it's just for you.
That's true.
And that's for a lot of people watching. It's really great feeling to fill a book up with your own handwriting. And there's a difference between typing and handwriting, because when you write with an ink, you're experiencing like generations of like stuff that's going from like hand to, it's like connected to you, right? The MacBook is not connected to your soul. Sorry.
That's true. Yeah.
It's not, it's, you know what I mean?
That's true.
But with the pen, you could do it, man. You get your favorite pen, you get into it, and then you could talk to other people in that journal. And it's a little thing.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome. Well, I'll tell you one thing. If I think some of my past generations had some shitty handwriting, because when I try to read back through this thing, I can't even like, man, I actually like, I had a bunch of them I was trying to like just put away that I had filled out the other day. And I was going back through and I was like, I could kind of pick out bits and pieces, but I should probably write a little more legibly so I can, you know, go back through.
And someone could read it one day, you know, your future generations.
Absolutely. So are there any other projects that you're working on right now?
I just do like a lot of personal work, like in my community. So I recently brought a Holocaust survivor from Harlem onto this app called Clubhouse.
Yeah.
It had like 3,700 people there. It got an NBC News.
Wow.
It was like really, and it felt great because I was like, wow, here's a great opportunity to educate people. And this guy gets to share his story to a new group during his 80s. And it's amazing to like do things for other people, and to also have him get that recognition. I'm doing a project now, a lot of stuff on Black Jewish work in New York City, just like community building and separating racism and anti-Semitism in communities. So that's like my personal stuff that I do. It's definitely with Kosha Dillz, and hopefully we're gonna do something with, like I'm working on a photo project about the Crown Heights riots, 30-year anniversary. And that's just like life. I feel like that's called, should be like in its own category called life work. I have film stuff, a book stuff. And just tomorrow I'm making a new song, my first song in Apartment, you know, guys coming over, and I'm going to be releasing a lot of music this year, just awesome. more music, singles, fun songs, silly songs, serious songs. And just, I want to be consistent. So people know me as my character. People see me, what I do on the street. People, you know, they know me in bits and pieces, but I want people to always come and say like, I want to listen to the song. I want to listen to the song. I want to listen to the song. Listen to the song. What's this song? You know, and to do that, you have to put the work in, right? We were talking about it, to put the work in. You have to stay consistent. You have to, you know, if you want to fill up the journal, you have to write every day. That's how it fills up, guys. It's not brain surgery here, you know? So the next year, you know, I'm 39 now, I'm going to turn 40. So I'm having this fear of like, I have to do it now. And it's true. Like that, if that's what's going to push me to do it, you know, I'm okay with it. So
Sure.
I'm going through the whole career makeover right now. Just more
Yeah.
music, acting. What else can I get involved with?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think you've given us a good idea, man, about what your recovery looks like today to an extent. I mean, you mentioned, you know, some type of fitness element, and I'm a fitness and nutrition coach. So you nailed that on the head for me. I think that's, you know, that's huge. In my mind, that should just be a staple in anyone's, you know, recovery game plan, so to speak. You
Yeah.
mentioned the journaling. What does your recovery look like today? And has that maybe changed a little bit due to COVID? Like, do you still hit meetings up? Do you still do any of that? Like, what does that look like today?
I do, and I would say with my little internet addiction, it is nearly impossible for me. Like, see, right now, the only way I'm talking to you focus is because the phone is nowhere near me and I'm like distant away, right? And I should actually learn this. This is like a new piece of furniture that this computer is set on here. So like I'll be attending, even if I can't make a meeting, like I'll turn it on and, you know, just be on it for Zoom. The last meeting I went to was in Texas when I was there for South by Southwest, which didn't happen. And then they closed down. And then there were a couple of meetings that popped open in Los Angeles, and like some outdoor meetings in New York. And with the warm weather coming back, I think the outdoor meetings will happen again.
Okay.
But the Zoom thing is where it's at. And the fact that I could pop in and just hear the voices of people,
for sure,
doing that, but to say that I'm present the whole time, no. So I just, you know, do my best I can. And I think it's just like a diet, you know. I need like I need strict rules. Like I can't be on my phone. I need to have the video on. I think when you put the video off, right, we're just like, we're listening to a podcast, like someone's listening to this, they're like, you know, cooking breakfast, and as you should, you know. But for a meeting, I really just want them to come back so I can build a steady schedule. Because for me, I find super peace and serenity with like a strict schedule.
Yeah.
And on my health stuff, I think it's for me, it's like all related. If I could be like not touching my phone, you know, going to work, separating that. Now I'm like, you know, not on Instagram, not posting videos. Now studio time, and not, you know, not being on Instagram while in the studio, because you rob yourself of all the hard work that you've done. You're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the meetings, I'm going to miss everything that was great that was said. And then, I mean, this is what I've done for many years. It's not, it just reinvents itself, right? It's like if someone's on the phone in a meeting, right? It's like, you know, now we're on the phone during Zoom. You do it over and over again. It's really difficult. So I would like, right now I'm building, like, I know my sponsors, like, you know, come through tomorrow at a specific time, and I want to build that relationship. I got to be there. So
nice. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. And I've been guilty of that too, man. I mean, I haven't been to an in-person meeting in a while. I've been doing the Zoom thing, and it is easy to like, I do like the fact, like you're saying, there's that one part of it. And it's like, man, maybe I wouldn't have gone to a meeting right now. I do have some stuff going on, so let me just listen in. But man, you nailed it. Like there have been times where I've just been like video off, doing other things. And you know, and I'm not fully and the question I ask myself, or the thing I think about personally,
I'll do it with the video on. Like a savage, and that's like, so it's so messed up, man. So like, if anyone invites me, if you invite me to something, I won't do it like that, you know. Like,
exactly. That's what I was gonna say, man. Like I would never be be in a meeting like looking at my phone, like you know, like at a meeting.
I would if I have the phone on me, right, or if I'm in something. But if I leave it in the car, like it's impossible for me to touch it. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know,
that's true.
I love to not be present. My fantasy is like, I love to be in that, you know, as creative and stuff. And that's a big way it helped me run the marathon. I was like thinking of all kinds of stuff. And by the time I was done, I was like, it's not that bad, you know?
Yeah.
But to really be present in it is to really get the full experience of it, you know, to feel the feelings, etc.
Absolutely.
What everyone else is saying. So.
Yeah, man. Before we wrap up, I want to ask if there's maybe, I think you've shared a lot of really great, I'm just going to call it wisdom, man. I think you've been dropping some wisdom bombs on us here. But before we wrap up, I want to ask if there's maybe one piece of advice that you'd like to share with the Sober Nation, whether it's someone that's, you know, dabbling in recovery, you know, kind of got that first introduction like you did, or, you know, is new to recovery, is maybe been around in a while, kind of coming in and out of this deal. Maybe if you've have any advice for them.
Well, I learned that this is like, you know, the sober life is a program of attraction, not promotion, right? So for me, I'm really big on the aspect of like humility and showing my cards sometimes, right? And it's like, all right, I'm currently not a superstar. You know what I'm saying? I'm currently not in the best shape that I could be in. I'm currently know that I could do better with my recovery. Um, if you're here a long time, like resurrender. If you think you should be somewhere that you're not, resurrender, because you're not there and you're just gonna hold a resentment. If you're new or you're like, oh man, you know, there's no bad reason to have some humility. And if you look at my, like, I'll tell you a quick story, right? Because today's the Grammys. And I listened to somebody in recovery about this, and my friend became a successful millionaire, and he was making $12 an hour, and he's also in recovery, so it's relevant. And my producers were all nominated for the Grammys. It was like 2015. My boy Jesse, and I wanted to be there so bad, right? Just like I want to be the headliner of every festival, but I'm, you know, but I'm not. And instead of going inside, and I got rejected, and there were so many signs that said, you know, don't go in, but I kept trying to buy tickets. And then he says, why don't you just rap outside? Why don't you just rap on the street? And I'm like, you know, like I should be in there in like a tuxedo on the red carpet, like, but it doesn't make any sense. And I did it, and I ended up landing like a massive commercial that financed the rest of my many years. And it was because of listening to somebody, taking a suggestion, and doing something different, and having humility. I thought it was the most humiliating thing that I ever did. And anytime that I get into that state and I don't want to do something, when I try, I'm so much more grateful that I did it, because it usually changes my life. I guess that's what I want to leave you guys with, because no one would ever tell me that if you're working with, you know, if all your friends are in recovery, you know, there's probably a sign. You know, when I was working with a Grammy-nominated producer, I was like, I should be there. And now I rap outside, and it changed my life. It's like, we're not all meant to be superstars, you know? So like, it's okay to be like rock bottom, I guess is what I could say, and start from there, because it's like a huge gift actually when you start, boom, you know. And I guess that might be a long-winded answer, but humility ultimately is my biggest piece of wealth that I've owned, you know, and then I'm not afraid to like go back into it at any age, or, you know, wherever I'm at, with multiple fingers clean.
Man, I like that. That's awesome advice. And that's an awesome story too. So be sure to check out Kosha Dillz's latest album, Nobody Cares Except You, on all major streaming platforms. And man, check him out on Instagram. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. And if you guys are listening, just like hit me up. I would love to hear from you, and be in contact, because, you know, like I said, I'm no different than anybody else out there. So if I could help anybody else, I'd love to, and share some time with you guys. So peace out.
Be sure to check out the show notes for all the info from today's episode. Sober Nation FM is brought to you by Sobriety Engine. Sobriety Engine is a free online community of men and women supporting each other in their recovery. Visit sobrietyengine.com to join today. This show is also brought to you by Recover Health. If you're ready to get fit and start living a healthier lifestyle while supporting your sobriety, you can learn more about having me as your own personal fitness and nutrition coach at rcvrhealth.com. And again, whether you're listening to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watching on YouTube, please share this with your friends, follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. Nation, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.